Right now you think you're building your startup, but what you're actually doing is digging your grave. I'll show you what to do instead. The way that we're taught to build businesses is absolutely wrong. Think about the way that academia is structured. You have textbooks and you have courses and you have curriculums and you have first step 1, then step 2, then step 3, then step 4. And because the way that knowledge needs to be transferred and information needs to be taught, they assume a certain structure to implementation of anything. It's like when you buy a box of Legos, the Legos have to show you the foundation and then each subsequent box that goes on top of the Lego piece, otherwise you can't build that Lego. Business is about research, development, iteration, experimentation, and failure, which isn't the way that academia works. Academia needs to show you an end result, an end chapter, a conclusion, a test that you can take and pass. We tend to teach people to build businesses the way that we build Legos, start to finish, bottom to top, with a completed product. And so you have all these post-academic pseudo-entrepreneurs that begin by building, and they build way too much. They massively over-engineer their businesses. And surprise, surprise, when they finally take it to market and try to launch, something doesn't work, something breaks, something doesn't take, customers don't like it, the offer doesn't work, the pricing doesn't work, the intake doesn't work, the onboarding doesn't work, and what do they have to do? They have to rebuild. And then they go back and they do the whole thing over again, start to finish. And then they bring it to market and then something else doesn't work and then they have to rebuild. And this is why people get burned out on businesses. The way to build a business is messy. The way to build a business is the same way that you would cross a river. The first time you cross a river, you're not going to build a bridge, right? The first time you cross a river, you're going to make sure that you actually want to get across this river, and once you're on the other side, that you like it there. So you're going to potentially ford the river, which means that you're going to get wet, but that's okay. And then the second time you cross the river, maybe you find stones that you can step on. And then the third time you cross the river, maybe you build yourself some lily pads. And then the fourth time you cross the river, and so on and so forth, right? But we haven't built our bridge. Why? Because if we build our bridge in its entirety and find out like, oh, I don't want to be here on the bank, I actually want to be further down on the bank, or that's not even the bank that I want to be on, or that's not even the river that I want to cross, we've just built this massive bridge for absolutely no reason. I'll give you a very specific example. One of my clients, when I still owned Solutions 8, was this large dental conglomerate. They were this private equity group that ran around building dental offices throughout the United States. And by the time we started working with them, they already had 60 offices, but they wanted one office in every city, every DMA. And it was the funniest thing. The way that they chose office locations was a guy named Hank. Swear to God. Hank used to work for franchises, and they would say, all right, we need a dental office. We want one in the Dallas area. And they would fly Hank into Dallas. And Hank, who's this kind of crotchety older guy, would just drive. He would drive around Dallas, Fort Worth, and he would look at street corners where he thought dental offices would be most viable or most visible. Now, Hank was a smart guy. He wasn't a dummy, and he knew a lot about the market and the dental world, and what worked and what didn't from a signage perspective, and what neighbors made good neighbors, especially if you had a pediatric dentist in the office. And he had some data, right, about demographic growth and all those things. And it was still a wildly inadequate process. You have this massive private equity group, and the way they're choosing where to put their dental offices is just this old man named Hank. The thing that I thought was interesting about it was a dental office costs $250,000 to $500,000 to build. That's the startup cost. Between, the build out and all the equipment and everything you need to put into it, it's $250,000 on the low end and closer to $500,000, generally speaking. So this private equity group was rolling the dice on Hank's advice and going in and making a $500,000 bet in installing a dental office, and then coming to me, the Google Ads agency, and saying, fill up this dental office with patients. 100% of their patients, by the way, came from Google Ads. Here's what we told them to do. Give me a short list of areas that you think are potentially viable in Dallas. Give me $1,000 per area. Let's say that there's 5 areas. I want $5,000. I'm going to start generating traffic in each of those 5 areas as though a dental office already exists. I'm going to be able to see auction insights, who's bidding on traffic, what that traffic costs, what your cost per click is, what a potential conversion rate is, what the market viability looks like in that area. I'm going to spend $5,000, and I'm going to help you identify the best location for your $500,000 dental office. We needed to really determine what thesis we were trying to test, and then test it in the most appropriate and applicable way. This is how you build a business. I learned this from Jason Fladlin. Jason's this greatest pitch man in the world, by the way. He's the billionaire webinar man. If you don't know Jason, really worth looking into. He's got a great YouTube channel. He wrote an awesome book called One to Many. Jason loves to sell products before they exist. So Jason will go to his audience and he'll say, hey, this is probably a bad idea. I don't even really necessarily want to do this. I'm just testing the waters. But, I kind of have this half-assed concept for, a new webinar program. And if somebody's interested, let me know. It's going to be super expensive and really clunky, but I'm willing to put this out there if somebody wants to be a beta user or an alpha user. And based off of the response, maybe he starts starts to, oh, okay, looks like there's some traction here. So maybe I'm going to build a program or build a curriculum or do whatever it is that I'm going to do. But he goes on and he gets the customers first, which makes so much sense. And yet it's counterintuitive to the academic way of building a business, because the academic would say, well, you have to build a course curriculum. And then once you have the courses, you're going to shoot the videos, and then you're going to sequence the videos inside of Kajabi. And we're going to make sure we have the membership program and the onboarding and the customer service reps and all the frequently asked questions. And once all this stuff is built, then we can start to advertise. We don't know that any of that's going to work. I made this mistake in my Montessori business. I built, I knew I wanted to help Montessorians, and I wanted to help them with digital marketing. And so I hired a young man, his name was Steven, and he was a full-time employee, and I paid him it was almost 9 months. I paid him to shoot courses to teach Montessorians how to do digital marketing, how to set up MailChimp, how to set up CRMs, how to set up pipelines, how to run their ads, how to do their creative, how to do their blogs, how to do their websites, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was months and months and months and months and months and months and months of work. Here's what's really funny. We launched the community. Montessorians loved it. They ate it up. It was amazing. The intake was awesome. It was so much phenomenal feedback. And the one question we got from literally every single one of them was, these courses are so good. We're so grateful to y'all for doing this. Can you just do this for me? They didn't want courses. They wanted services. I built a community, and I should have been building an agency. I spent 9 months of a full-time employee's time and salary climbing a ladder that was propped up against the wrong wall, when all I needed to do was go to Montessorians and say, hey, we're thinking about building a bunch of courses on digital marketing services. Is this something you'd be interested in? And just through those conversations, I bet you I would have got there way faster, way more effectively, way cheaper. Stop building. Stop creating. It's a comfort zone. It's where you want to be because you're afraid to sell. You're afraid to go to market. You're afraid to have the conversations. Sell it first. If somebody buys it, build it. If they like it, build it again. If they don't, ask them what they don't like and iterate. But just do the very next step. Stop building these massive bridges, this huge infrastructure, these things that you don't necessarily need. Prove the next step, minimum viable product. Prove the very next thesis. Once that's proven, prove the next one. Once that's proven, prove the next one. Once that's proven, prove the next one. I think there might be a group of people who would be interested in an end result like this. Go prove that thesis. Oh, there are a group of people interested in this end result. I think this group of people would be willing to pay for that end result if it came through this conduit, this service, this offering, this membership, this community, this training, this course, this book. Oh, they actually don't like these, but they do like this. Great. I think this group of people would be willing to pay for that end result through this conduit if it were this much money or these terms. Oh, so on and so forth. Prove concepts as you build. Build the plane as you fly it. Build the bridge as you cross it. Choose your analogy. Stop building all this stuff. All the stuff that young entrepreneurs build, it's all for naught. It's all a waste. You always guess wrong. You're always going to guess wrong. This is true with everything. This is true with SaaS. It's true with e-commerce. It's true with professional services. It's true with agencies. It's true with brick and mortar. It's true for local services. Go prove the smallest, closest thesis that you need to prove to take your very next step. That's how you build a business. And what's really nice is that's how you build a business grassroots. That's how you build a business from the ground up. You don't need seed capital. You don't need investors. You don't need funding. You don't need planning. I hate with everything inside of me. I hate those, oh, we're in our traction level 10 meeting and we have all this, our annual plan, our quarterly plan, our monthly plan, our weekly plan. And I'm like, for what? For what? I can't tell you how many, I ran ads for 200 different companies, and all of them were functioning off of this same paradigm. And all of them, they'd get together, they'd have these big expensive meetings, and they'd hash out their annual plan. And I swear to God, by Q1, the annual plan was out the window. Because guess what happened? Life, the market, the economy, competitors, clients. You can't anticipate anything, especially now. In 2025, with the advent of AI, there's nothing you can anticipate that's more than a quarter out at most, even in industries that don't change at all. It makes them feel better. It makes people feel safer thinking that they have a plan. I'm not telling you not to set goals. I think goals are wildly important. This reminds me of the Mike Tyson quote, everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the face, right? Like, you cannot plan a fight because you don't know what the competitor or the opponent's going to do. You can't plan a battle. It's the Eisenhower quote, planning is worthless, but planning is everything, or something like that. I think what that means for me is the plan is going to effectively be worthless, and it's important for you to stay nimble while you step out onto the battlefield. And so I'm not telling you not to plan. What I am telling you is stop planning along a horizon that you can't see. You're peering into the fog and guessing what's coming. Build, be messy, ready, fire, aim, go, start now, fail forward, fail fast. That's the way you build a business, especially in this ecosystem. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love for you academic planners out there, you Princeton grads, to come show me the business plan that you started 3 years ago and executed on perfectly and ended up being viable and profitable. I'd love to see that. I'll have you on my YouTube channel. I'll eat a raw crow in front of you if somebody can bring that to me. Hopefully nobody ever calls me on that. I hope this video was helpful. I'll see you in the next one.